In the heart of the expansive wilderness of the Serengeti Game Reserve in Tanzania, there lived an elderly man named Makonde. This remarkable individual had once served as a ranger, dedicating over 5 decades of his life to protection and conservation of the region's precious wildlife, from his vibrant youth into the twilight of his life. Throughout all those years, Mr. Makonde remained a steadfast guardian of the animals, devoting his strength and spirit to shielding them from the menace of illegal poaching. His unwavering commitment and gentle heart earned him the deep admiration of those who lived and worked in the Serengeti. To many, he was not just a man, but a living legend, respected not only for his tireless work ethic, but also for compassion he extended to every living creature. Even after officially retiring from his duties, Mr. Makonde continued to serve the sanctuary. Each day, he would climb into his aging vehicle and patrol the reserve voluntarily, ensuring the safety and well-being of the animals he loved so dearly. Younger staff members often sought out his wisdom, drawn by the depth of his understanding and the stories his eyes seemed to hold. Elephants, lions, giraffes, zebras, and rhinos. He cherished them all, but among them, he paid special attention to the aging animals housed in the sanctuary's safe area, a tranquil refuge where the elderly or injured could rest and recover in peace. Despite the decline of his physical health, Mr. Makonde's resolve never wavered. The burdens of age were not enough to slow the purpose that pulsed through his veins. Lately, the Serengeti had been experiencing more extreme weather conditions, with temperatures predicted to rise as high as 45 degrees Celsius. That morning, the sun had already climbed high into the sky, beating down relentlessly over the plains. The searing air caused animals to retreat under the few large trees that offered shelter. Yet, undeterred by the harsh conditions, Mr. Makonde was set on making a trip to check on a particular rhino that had sustained an injury the day before. He directed his vehicle toward a thicket-covered region where the wounded rhino was convalescing. The drive was slow and uneasy, the terrain a mix of dry grass and uneven earth. Inside the stifling cabin of the old truck, waves of heat poured in, soaking him in sweat. Upon arriving, he brought the vehicle to a stop and stepped out, scanning the area to spot the injured animal. From a safe distance, he observed the rhino, still weak, its long wound clearly visible and yet to fully heal. With great care, he moved closer, wanting to examine the animal's condition up close. His eyes held a mixture of concern and affection, so much love for this immense yet fragile being. Suddenly, a sharp pain tore through his chest. It spread rapidly, overwhelming him with dizziness and rendering him unable to respond. His knees gave way, and he collapsed into the tall grass, his face pale, sweat pouring from his brow. Nearby, his 2 colleagues, Elijah and Musa, were tending to a group of zebras when they heard what sounded like a distant, faint call. Without hesitation, they ran toward the source of sound, and to their horror, found Mr. Makonde lying unconscious on the ground. Elijah immediately dropped to his knees and checked for a pulse. His heart was beating irregularly. Panic rising, Musa frantically searched the pockets of the old man's jacket for his heart medication. But there was none to be found. In his rush to check on the rhino, it seemed Mr. Makonde had forgotten to bring it with him. Realizing the seriousness of the situation, Elijah radioed the main operations center, urgently requesting an ambulance. All other work in the vicinity was halted. Staff members banded together, doing whatever they could to assist. A specialized medical transport vehicle sped to the scene and rushed Mr. Makonde to the reserve's medical facility. Throughout the ride, Elijah kept calling out his name, pleading with him to hold on. But Mr. Makonde's eyes, once so full of life, began to close. His breathing grew shallow and unsteady. Once at the medical center, the doctors sprang into action. They initiated CPR, applied artificial respiration, and used a defibrillator in a desperate effort to revive him. The room was thick with tension. Everyone held their breath, hoping for a miracle. After more than 15 grueling minutes, a doctor stepped back, his face solemn. He quietly announced that Mr. Makonde's heart had ceased beating long before they arrived. Silence fell like a heavy curtain. The sorrowful truth spread through the facility like a cold wind. Mr. Makonde was gone. Staff from all corners of the reserve arrived upon hearing the devastating news. Many stood in stunned disbelief, struggling to process the loss. They had not only lost a mentor, but the spiritual backbone of the sanctuary. His family was notified, and tears flowed freely. In keeping with Mr. Makonde's own wishes, it was decided that his funeral would be held at the very reserve he had given his life to protect. Preparations began, guided by the traditions and rituals of the local people. The following morning, under the soft glow of a sunrise peeking over the horizon, the community gathered to say their goodbyes. In the sanctuary's central courtyard, a simple wooden platform had been set up. Upon it rested Mr. Makonde's body. His face was serene, as though he were merely sleeping. One by one, people came forward, their eyes glistening with emotion. Elijah stood by his side, gently touching the old man's hand, memories rushing back in waves. Musa lit an incense stick, bowing his head in silent prayer. Then, an unexpected sound shattered the stillness. A low, deep roar came from the sanctuary's entrance. Heads turned quickly in alarm. A massive male lion was approaching, moving slowly but with undeniable power. The crowd instinctively stepped back in fear, uncertain of its intentions. The lion let out another guttural growl, as if proclaiming its arrival. Yet there was no aggression in its eyes, only something ancient and solemn. Without hesitation, the lion walked past the startled mourners and approached the wooden platform where Mr. Makonde lay. Everyone held their breath. The lion circled the bed once, then stopped at the foot of it. There, it lowered its head in a gesture that looked unmistakably like mourning. The scene was otherworldly, profound and unsettling in its beauty. The crowd, overwhelmed by the emotion of it all, watched in awe. Suddenly, Elijah's eyes widened. He had noticed a distinctive scar on the lion's side. Recognition dawned. This was the very lion he and Mr. Makonde had rescued over a decade ago. 15 years earlier, a pride of lions had been caught in a poacher's trap. The rangers, led by Makonde and Elijah, had responded quickly. This particular lion had suffered a serious wound. Together, the two men had freed the animal, cleaned its injuries, and cared for it in the safe area until it was strong enough to return to the wild. And now, all these years later, the lion had come back. Somehow, it had sensed the death of the man who had once saved its life and had come to bid him farewell. The realization brought tears to many eyes. Elijah cautiously approached the lion, hoping to calm it, but the animal remained still, its head bowed low. It posed no threat, only reverence. Inspired by this, others stepped closer as well, joining the silent communion. The fear had vanished, replaced by a shared grief. After the ceremony, they carried Mr. Makonde's body to a grassy field he had loved so much. The lion followed quietly, its roars echoing across the savannah like cries of lament. Under the canopy of a wide, shade-giving tree, the group began to dig his final resting place. With solemn hands, they laid him to rest, covering the grave with care. A stone bearing his name was placed at the head, a tribute to his 50 years of unbroken service. Local villagers conducted a heartfelt prayer ritual, sending their blessings to guide his spirit into the afterlife. Meanwhile, the lion remained by the grave, unmoving, its gaze fixed on a place where its benefactor now lay. It stayed there for a long time, then suddenly released a roar, one so deep and mournful that it echoed to the entire plain. It was a sound of farewell, of gratitude, of love. Eventually, the others began to walk away, leaving the lion alone beside the grave. The sun dipped low, bathing the sky in hues of gold and crimson. That image, the lion watching over the grave, would forever be etched in the minds of all who saw it. The following day, the sanctuary canceled all regular operations. The reserve observed a day of remembrance. People came with incense and wildflowers, placing them by the grave. They prayed, reflected, and whispered their thanks. Now and then, visitors or rangers would see the lion return, quietly sitting by the grave, lost in thought. To the lion, Mr. Makonde was more than a ranger. He was its savior. And in its own way, the lion kept repaying that kindness, showing a loyalty few could ever imagine. Elijah and Musa often returned as well. They would sit by the grave and talk to him, as if he were still there. They continued the work he began, driven by the same passion for nature's beauty and its preservation. The tale of Mr. Makonde, the revered ranger of the Serengeti, would endure through the ages. His legacy was not only carved into stone, but etched into the soul of the wilderness itself. And as long as that lion roamed the plains, love and loyalty will remain his living tribute.